Hey everybody, welcome back to the Rebel Chumps channel. I currently have my Saberforge Cyphos 2018 model connected to the Sabercore software, and these are the settings that I currently have configured, and I will delve into them a bit so you have an understanding why and what I have done. These are the main configurations. So first of all, there is a thing that I need to point out, and you might agree or maybe not. But with the Sabercore 3.0, and because of its sensitivity, you have a little bit a choice to make. You're either gonna configure the Sabercore sound font in that bank to be more responsive on the clashes or on spinning, because I noticed that, for example, in this case I have spin sensitivity on 3% and clash sensitivity on 65%, and it actually, when I'm spinning, a lot of false clashes are being registered. So now my spins are good, but it still have a lot of clash sounds during spinning, which I don't want. So if you are more into spinning, you probably want to set the clash sensitivity to around 5%, so the accidental clashes are not registered when you spinning your saber around. Now for the spin sensitivity, I set it to 3%, and you will say, wow, that's really low. But in actuality, that is actually the preferred setting for me, because at 3% you don't have this crazy over the top spinning sound, which is like it's like all the sounds are puking on one of another. It's just a horrible sound if you set it beyond 3 to 5%. It's really sensitive. So at 3%, I feel, yes, I can now actually hear the individual spin sounds when I actually spin the saber. If you set it a little bit higher, it's just detrimental and you only hear ridiculous sounds coming out of the saber. The same with motion sensitivity. I set it to 10. I felt like it's still a little bit of a trade-off, because if I put it lower, then less sensitivity is detected. But at the same time, if you move the lightsaber fast, in a fast motion from left to right, it still has this crazy motion sound, like chopping, something that's chopping super fast, like is ridiculous. So I feel at 10% I have a good trade-off between the saber still picking up small movements and not overly doing crazy when I move a little bit too much, and that it like go nuts in terms of swing sounds. So I feel this is a good setting. Now I would say for motion sensitivity it's a little bit weird, because everything you said beyond 10%, I feel like it doesn't matter, because it's all ridiculous sensitive that it's like unlistenable to the sound font when you swing it. It's just ridiculous sound come out of it. So I feel like there is a really fine line between the saber is nicely and responsive and making individual swing sounds and clash sounds and spin sounds, but if you go over that edge just a bit, it's like crazy nuts. It's just like a squirrel that drunk like 50 Red Bull cans. It's just crazy sensitive. And I set this on font 1. Now font 2 and font 3 I left this default. As you can see, this is the default settings, and I felt like, yeah, that is just too crazy. So one thing I also did, I set the inactivity timeout to 60 minutes. I just maxed it out because there is in the documentation from the Sabercore, they don't mention this anything about inactivity settings, but this is basically when you turn your lightsaber on, how long the runtime will be if you just let it run, if you don't touch it. So I set it to 60 minutes because sometimes I just want to have my saber on without doing anything, and I can do it in this way. So that's kind of neat. And then the sound volume is on 70. I feel that's loud enough. I don't need it ridiculous loud. So that is pretty good. I actually don't like the font 2 and 3 those are the SID fonts. I will do a review of the SID fonts individually, but I want, for example, the second font, I can set it to, for example, having no audio at all, so I can use that as a mute mode. So I'm gonna go do that, set it to 60 minutes as well. I don't want it to, it actually does not matter where I set it to. I set it to low for all of three of them. There's no particular reason why I'm doing that for this one, but I just want to show that this will be my mute settings. This is like a stunt setup, so just pure light, no audio, just the lightsaber and the full brightness. That is what I want with this one. And then next, and then sound font 2, slow pulse. I like the pulse. The shimmer, if I feel is just too much of it. Too much. Power on, fade up delay. I don't want to mess around with that. I just leave those default. Maybe I actually cannot adjust it. That's kind of interesting. These are locked for whatever reason. So that's good. So well, let's leave it like this, so you can see what I have set here, and I'm pretty happy with that. So let's save that, burn to chip. So now I have one mute bank just to mute the audio and have a stunt setup, and the other one, which is font 1, which is my favorite one, is called Dark Relic. That one is now set to a certain sensitivity, spinning, just the way I want it. This is just right for me. But let me know in the comments what your settings are, and maybe I can try them out and do a little bit of a comparison between your settings, my settings, and then we find like what is the best solution or the best setup for swinging and the best setup for clashes, and what is the best setup for this. It also depends on the sound bank and what kind of sound font you have loaded to it. But I wanted to show, this is my configuration. Font 1 being a fine-tuned sound font in terms of sensitivity for my needs. Sound font 2 is basically a stunt mute mode, and then sound font 3 I just leave as is. But I want to know from you guys as well. Let's share those configurations so we have an idea, and definitely try out my configuration. Maybe you will like it, and maybe you will like it not at all, but I would like to know from you guys what you think about it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and see you in the next video. Bye bye, swai swai.